Hello there, Jose Rodriguez back again with our continuing series on Qimage Ultimate. We already discussed in episode 1 the basics of editing your images. Remember, this program is really designed to process raw images, as it contains just about every single camera and lens profile that has ever been created out there. Alright, so the second episode we concentrated on templates and how to create them, how to use the included standard templates, and how to make custom templates. In this third episode, I'm going to cover color management and how it is treated within Qimage Ultimate. I have 4 images loaded here. This is a 13 by 19 template with a 11 by 17 inch cell. Now you might ask yourself, well, how can I access the other images that I have loaded here? Well, you can use your scroll wheel, or you can just click here and toggle through all of the images. We'll go ahead and just use the scroll wheel. And you can see that I can easily toggle through all the loaded images. All I would have to do now is hit print, and as long as I have my settings on my printer correctly set, I should get perfect results. At the end, I can save this whole job and access it a year later, a day later, a month later, 20 years later, whatever the case may be, as long as Qimage is still around and we're still messing around with digital images and printers, which I doubt we will. But anyway, you have that ability. Let's go ahead and switch over to the color version of this image, and we'll go ahead and set the printer that we're going to be using. That is accessed right here. You're going to choose the printer, and we'll go ahead, we were using the 3800, we'll go ahead and use the glossy 3800. My copy one is set for matte. My regular one, or without the copy one, because actually I have 2 3800s installed, is this one here. And as you can see, it is set for 8.5 by 11, so we'll go ahead and switch that over to our 13 by 19 and make sure that in our properties we have premium luster paper, which is what I'm going to be printing to. My mode is color. My quality is set to quality, which is the highest. And instead of automatic, which gives you the EPSON standard sRGB color space, we have clicked on custom. Now let's go ahead and primarily cover what you would do if you want to just simply let your printer control color. In that case, you would just simply click here and just let the EPSON standard sRGB choice be picked. If you want to increase the vividness of your colors, you can use EPSON Vivid, but if I'm going to let my printer control color, I just choose EPSON Standard RGB or Adobe RGB, depending on what color space these images were saved as in the beginning while you were editing them. And that's basically it. At that point, you just click and print. Okay, so let's now assume that we want to be a little bit more professional and use ICC profiles. So what do you do? Where do you turn off your color management in the driver? Well, you do that here, as far as this particular printer goes. And here you would then choose no color management. Now let's assume that we have an older printer, such as say a 2400, and that interface is different. You'll still be able to print to that nice 13 by 19. So as we find it here we go. Okay, now you would choose your paper, and we'll just use I believe we were using luster, ultra premium luster. And now where do we access your color management? This is where you access that advanced. And again, we don't want that little warning constantly bothering us. So this gives you total control, manual control, if you're actually letting the printer driver control color. This is where you would access all of your controls for brightness, contrast, saturation, cyan, magenta, and yellow. But what we want to do is to have no interference. So we're going to click on ICM and then off. So let's do that again. We were up here. We'll click on ICM and then off. And OK. So that's how you would do that. Let's go back to our printer of choice, this one here, and we'll reset it back to 13 by 19. Make sure that all of our settings are correct. Photo luster, quality, no color adjustment. So we can go ahead and print. We can print that by now using an ICC profile through the imaging application or the editing application. And that is done here, down here. Qimage is wonderful because it sets your printing resolution, in other words, the native printer's resolution automatically for you. As you can see, it says 360 because it knows that I loaded an EPSON printer. You see that? Epson Stylus Pro 3800. So automatically will set that. If I was to switch my printer to a Canon printer, and we'll go ahead and load my Canon Pro-1000 and just let's just leave the paper as is. It's going to have to resize it. But anyway, as you can see here, it says now 600 ppi, and that is the standard resolution for a Canon printer. Canon printer is either 300 or 600. Epson printer is 360 or 720. Let's go back to our Epson printer once again. Now, if you, unlike me, if you have just one or two printers, it doesn't get too confusing. It's just when someone like me who has over a dozen printers, it can get a little bit confusing. So again, we check, make sure that it's all correct. Click OK. Click OK. Let's go ahead and enter the specific size that I need, which is 11 by 17. And we are back to normal. We'll go ahead and clear that queue and load up an image. Let's just do this one for the sake of time. This is the image we're going to print. Now I'm going to have to choose a paper, and I'm going to have to choose a proper ICC profile to match that paper and the printer and the inks that I'm using. Now the reason I say inks that I am using is because many of you will probably be using third-party inks. Myself, I'm using OEM inks on my 3800, so I can choose the Epson ICC profile. I click on that little blue circle. It opens up this dialog box. I'm going to choose my rendering intent, usually relative or perceptual. If it's a landscape such as this, I'll stick with perceptual. If I have close-ups of people with skin tones, predominant skin tones all over the image, I will stick to relative. We'll discuss that in another video and basically talk about the differences between those two rendering intents. Black point compensation, always on, and I have the ability to print full 16-bit images with Qimage. Don't forget that, very important. Okay, so now I have that done. Now we're going to go ahead and choose our profile. I should have done that. Should have done that while I had this open. Okay, so here are the very cryptic Epson 3800 papers. As you can see, it's hard to comprehend what they are. I know this one's watercolor, and I do have some of that paper, but photo glossy or premium glossy photo paper, and we're going to look for something that looks like luster, something with an L in it. Isn't that amazing? It's almost premium luster photo paper right here. I wish they would actually just use English, and that's it. I am done. Now I can go ahead and print and be assured that if I use premium luster photo paper and I'm using that on a 3800 with OEM inks, I should get, assuming of course that my monitor is calibrated, I should get pretty much what I see here. Now there's one hidden little feature. Let me see if I can remember how to access that. I think it's right here in the edit page little icon. And unfortunately, you have to really hover over these to find out what the heck they are about. So here, since I already loaded the paper profile, this allows you to soft proof. So we're going to go ahead and click, and this is what it's going to look like. Notice the difference. It's a little bit more subdued. The colors pretty much are, I would say, pretty darn close to what I see on the the non-soft proof version over here. So I'm very satisfied. Usually what happens, and there's a lot of pros and cons, people will argue every which way, and I myself do not do a lot of soft proofing, as I stated in a previous video covering that subject, and I got flamed to no end by basically color engineers that said that the reason that my results soft proofing do not really predict accurately what I will get when I print is that my setup as a whole is not correct. Well, I hate to differ. My setup is correct. And what you see here is usually a reduced level of contrast, a reduced level of saturation. But in reality, when you print this to luster paper, it'll have plenty of snap and pop, okay? It's not going to look at all this subdued. And again, that's all up to you whether you subscribe to this or not. I tend to use it once in a while, especially when I create a new profile. I want to have a quick idea of how it's going to affect the image. And if it turns into purples and pinks and yellows, then I know something's damn wrong with my profile. But if I do get this sort of result and my colors pretty much match, which they do, as you can see, all of these tonalities here pretty much match the original. It's just simply that as a whole, when you soft proof, you're taking into account that it's going to be a print on paper. It's going to be viewed by reflecting light rather than transmitted light, which is the way you're viewing your nice LCD monitor. So of course, there's going to be a slight difference in contrast. You're going to lose some dynamic range when you go to paper. monitors will have a much higher dynamic range than your final print ever will. Alright, so that's basically it. At that point, I'm satisfied. I hit done and hit print. Once I hit print, it will spool it down here and send it off to the printer, and it should pretty much match what you see here. If it doesn't match, then yes, maybe something is not quite correctly set. But as you saw, let me go over that again because it's just too simple for words. Let's just choose our printer. We have the paper, go to properties, and this is related only to Qimage Ultimate. Other applications will have different print modules and different print interfaces. So we just open up, basically you're going to open up your print preferences. Choose the paper, okay, right here. Make sure that your mode is color, not advanced black and white, unless you're printing black and white. And custom, no color adjustment. Sheet, this is basically pertains to the position of the feeder. So this is your top regular sheet feeder. You have your manual rear and manual front on the 3800. The size, and of course the quality. And that's it. You don't even I never use this one. I never go here but let me tell you one little hint for you 3800 owners or 3880 owners. If you set up a template like this and all of a sudden it looks like an 8x10 in the corner somewhere, it might be because you have this set to some other size. Okay, so what you must do is make sure that this is always set as paper size. Whatever the paper size is, this output paper setting must be same as paper size. Very, very important. And this will creep up behind people and just drive them nuts. And they'll be all over the forums asking, what in the world is going wrong? Oh, open, and basically that's all it is. So make sure that you go into your page layout every once in a while if you happen to have a 3800 or 3880 or even one of the P series printers, especially the 17-inch P800. Okay, that's it. Hit OK, click, and we are good to go. It'll spool, it'll go beep, and in a couple of minutes it'll be out of the printer and should match that. Alright, so again, like I always say, if you like it, please hit like. Ask me anything under the sun. I will try to reply to you either with the correct answer or lead you to where you can find out where you can get the correct answer. Please share with anyone that has similar interests. Subscribe, of course. I really need your support. So until the next time, happy printing and bye-bye.